to start just by saying thank you so much for taking the time in a really busy evening to come down and have a conversation about course selection for 2017. It's a really exciting time. We're going to be looking at your senior secondary qualifications for the following year. We're going to be having some important conversations about where to from here and what we're going to do post 2017, 2018 in the world outside of Hoppers Crossing Secondary College. A little bit daunting, but way more exciting. As you know, a lot of the people here are quite familiar to you. I'm Lena Border and I'm a senior curriculum leader, and I oversee all of the curriculum that's delivered at 10, 11 and 12. And as a consequence, I've had quite a lot to do with the young people in the room and will continue to do so for some time. We have the acting school principal, which is Keith Howard at the moment, and the rest of the senior school team is scattered around the room. So we're here to help you make your decisions. As you well know, if you've ever contacted the senior school, these are the coordinators, and probably the most important person to keep in mind is Megan Penn. She organises our lives, and if you ever contact the college, and you probably will be over the next couple of weeks if you're asking about courses or want some further information. As a result, she's your port of call. If you ever need anything, calling us through her is incredible. When I start these evenings, when we're talking about course selection, I like to reflect on where we've come from, and hopefully this is going to be a story that resonates with you as we're going to be moving and talking about your data in the coming years. So we progressively get better every year, and it's something we should be celebrating because hopefully your students will be the ones that take it that next step. 2015 was incredibly positive for us. We had 139 students, which was one of our biggest cohorts to come through, but your year level is much larger, and we had 96% of them satisfactorily complete their qualifications, which is well above the state average. It gets bigger and better every year, which is quite exciting. 100% of the students wishing to continue with further studies secured a placement. This is incredibly high and unusually high for most schools, as you do find that some people don't quite make it where they want to go, but we had incredible success and students were really aware of their pathways and followed them. 92% of our VCE students received a first round university offer. We're going to be talking quite a bit about universities today and TAFEs and the qualifications that will lend themselves to going on to further study, but getting such a high number of students really get an offer immediately from the universities was really exciting and something that we're trying to replicate in the years to come. Our college ducks, Amy Lee, did incredibly well with 91.65. We've seen a trend over the last few years where constantly our highest performing students are sitting in the 90s, and we're hoping to just make that more every year. And our VCAL students, as VCAL is one of the senior secondary qualifications I'll be talking to you about tonight, we had 92% of them satisfactorily completed. This is quite high and something that we celebrate particularly, given that VCAL in a lot of situations don't tend to finish the course. We have a really high success rate, and we try to make sure that we make note of that. 2017 is going to be a really big year for everyone in the room, parents, students alike. It's going to be a series of choices for all of us about what we're going to do. And the first one is really, are we going to move into VCE or VCAL? So when we're talking about VCE, which is where most students end up, so that's where I'm going to start, although I will discuss VCAL when we move on. Year 11 students are completing 12 units. So they do 6 units in semester 1 and 6 units in semester 2. When we're discussing year 11, we refer to Unit 1 as first semester, Unit 2 second semester, and this continues on into Year 12. Unit 3 is the first semester of Year 12, and Unit 4 is the second semester of Year 12. I'm mentioning that now as I might refer to that as I go. Now, it's really important to note that this is the first time you're going to be picking your subject, you're going to be picking your course for a 2-year program. In Year 9 and in Year 10 respectively, you've been picking courses that only run for the year. What you're going to be picking tonight will be sticking with you for a while, so we really do take this whole situation quite seriously. In the past, we've had most of the control over the curriculum that's been delivered, how it's been delivered, how it's been assessed. VCE and VCAL, and another acronym there, are all overseen by an outside body called the Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority. They dictate SACs and assessments that we need to do and how it's going to be delivered and to what extent the students need to know. This does lend itself to a higher level of accountability, credibility. It does mean that at times we need to do things in a certain way. I think it's really important as you move into a senior secondary qualification to be Year 11 and 12. MIPS is slightly different in Year 11. All the students in the room have done a MIPS program this year, and it was a subject that runs once a fortnight, and it's their managed individual pathway. Year 10 is where we're trying to set the groundwork for the pathway that the students are going to be doing post being in the safety of Hoppers Crossing Secondary College. Next year it's going to be even more individualised and personalised for the students, and they will meet one-on-one with a teacher to manage their program a little bit more specifically. We think the pathway choices they make at the moment are integral, and we want to support that and therefore make those meetings. This is more or less the progress that we're looking at. So at the moment the students in the room are in Year 10, and then we move into Year 11 and 12, and as I said, it is a 2-year program. We can't separate them anymore. Now your choices with this 2-year program is to move into VCE, as I said, where most students go, or VCAL. They're both senior secondary qualifications that we deliver, but they come with slightly different pros and cons, and we'll talk about that. Regardless of which qualification you do pass Year 12, and these are recognised by the state. The Year 11 curriculum we deliver within the VCE, so these are the subjects that we run, is quite diverse. We're really proud of and celebrate regularly the number of subjects we deliver. It's important to note that like Year 10, we only deliver the subjects that the students pick. We build our timetable based on student choice. So if students pick the class, we will run it. However, if we don't have adequate numbers, we won't. This means that it's really, really important that we think about the subjects we're choosing, because post putting those forms in, if they're not filled in correctly or they're not submitted on time, that class may not run dependent on those numbers. So despite the fact there is diversity here, it's really important that we think about it when we're filling in our forms. Completing the VCE. So it does come with the regulations that I stated before. VCAR oversees it, and they produce the assessment tasks and generally dictate what we can and can't do. So what you will be doing is 16 units for Year 11 and 12. Remember that every semester is called a unit. In Year 11 it's Unit 1 and 2, and in Year 12 it's Unit 3 and 4. In order to satisfactorily complete it, in order to be awarded that certificate, you must satisfactorily complete 16 units in total. In Year 12, assuming that you're successful in all of your units, you will have completed 12 already, because you do 6 in Semester 1 and 6 in Unit 2. It's also integral, and they really prioritise the importance of English in the VCE, and as a consequence you must satisfactorily complete 3 units of English, and one of them must be 3-4. Also, because Year 11 obviously is a little bit easier than Year 12, it's a step up every year when you hit senior secondary. It does mean that you need to have 4 3 and 4 sequences, one of them being English. So when we say a sequence, we mean 3 and 4 together. So this could be 3 and 4 accounting, 3 and 4 psychology, so on and so forth. This is a sample program because I think it's very abstract, some of the things that I'm mentioning, and it's really good to see it visually. In this person's program, you can see that they have taken in Year 11 English, and they have been unsuccessful in the second semester. That's okay, they're still eligible to pass, because you can lose 1 unit of English, but it can only happen in Year 11. They've then done health and psych. General maths didn't work out for them, and so then you don't follow all of your subjects from Year 11 to 12, and they've chosen to drop maths. They've done a vet subject, dance, and then PE. They would have met the unit requirements, but you need 9 units in Year 11 in order to automatically go into Year 12. And then the sample Year 12 is there as well. The alternative qualification is VCAR. So these are both senior secondary qualifications that VCAR oversee, but they do run slightly differently. So this is where it provides a very hands-on, very tangible approach to learning. So where you find that VCE is much or very similar to Year 10 in the way of the delivery of the information, VCAL is very much about being an independent learner, making a lot of decisions about your learning, being part of that hands-on approach, and they really prioritise work placement, so being part of the workforce. It is a little bit more flexible in that the timetable doesn't quite run as stringently, but the subjects you do not get to choose, they are dictated to you. There will be days that as part of VCAL you will be out on a work placement, and as part of VCAL you will be required to do a vet course. It does develop and extend pathways, and is really relevant for a lot of people looking at TAFE, looking at apprenticeships, looking to go on to the workforce post being with us at Hoppers. It is competency-based and it's very much skill-based as opposed to what you would find is like doing in the VC where you do lots of tests and assessments and exams. Students seeking a vocational pathway post being with us should be considering a VCAL program. They're looking at going on to full-time work, they're looking at going on to apprenticeships, and they have a real clear pathway that that's what they want to do and they're sure about that pathway. The reason we say that is that you cannot access university from VCAL. This is really pitched at and built to practical-based learners, people who enjoy the practical aspects of the learning that they're currently experiencing and thrive in an independent environment. You need to be aware that you cannot access university directly from VCAL, although you could potentially post going to TAFE. So it looks somewhat like this. As you can see, regardless of whether you undertake a VCE or a VCAL program, you can access TAFE, apprenticeships, or go into the workforce post either of those qualifications. But the advantage of VCE is the flexibility that you would be able to access university. If university isn't an option for you, then VCAL might be a consideration. So like I said before, you don't pick the subjects that you undertake in VCAL, and these are dictated by that body that I mentioned before, which is VCAL. So they do PDS, and they're looking at leadership and a lot of personal learning and developing their skill bases to be able to engage with people outside of school. They're very supported and very sheltered here, and we need to think about how they're going to communicate outside of it. The work-related skills have a lot of OH&S, a lot of knowledge about how our workforce operates outside of schools, because up until this point, unless the student has had a part-time job, they may not be exposed to that. Literacy skills, which is very much the English strand, because as I said before, VCAL very much prioritises English as a subject. It's the only required one in VCE, and it's also prioritised here. They do numeracy, which is a practical mathematics approach. General studies, which is business and legal, and we've also embedded health and PE into that somewhat. So a general knowledge about health and welfare, and industry-specific skills, which we mean by doing a VET course. So every student that undertakes VCAL also has to undertake a VET, which I'll discuss with you in a minute. To do the VCAL course and to be in our VCAL program, you do need to do an additional application. The reason that we do that is it's obviously pitched to a very specific type of student, and we are very rigorous with the program. We run one class at year 11, so there's about 22 spots, and it needs to be for a student that is independent, is a leader, is looking to go into the workforce or into an apprenticeship post being with us, and as a consequence, we also interview at the end of this application process. We want the right students to pick the right courses, and we don't want to limit their opportunities. As a result, if this is something that you wish to explore, and you're thinking maybe VCAL is a program for you, Mr. Baines would be a really good person to chat to post our discussion tonight. As I mentioned, VET is part of VCAL, but it can also be undertaken as part of a VCE program. VET is vocational education and training, and it's basically where you undertake a TAFE course while still being with us. We run a number of TAFE programs that you can access, both at this college and at external providers. Now, it's really important to be aware that a TAFE course does come with a certain level of expectation of independence. It isn't a course that's necessarily run by us, and it is trainers, and they are provided by a tertiary institution. Consequently, it's expected of the students that undertake it. It is obviously, in some cases, starting their road towards the TAFE program that they ultimately wish to do, which can be very exciting. It is really important, though, and something that we like to mention, it is a TAFE course, and because it has a certain level of independence, it does require students, particularly in year 11, to leave school earlier on a Wednesday, and they do miss a class, so it will impact on their timetable somewhat. We run a few VET courses with us, which is business, dance, retail, makeup and skincare, and sport and recreation. So these are the ones that we personally deliver at the college, and they have our teachers and our trainers here. There are other TAFE programs that you can undertake, and you'll find a list of these and the costings in your packs. VET, because it is a TAFE course, does have an additional fee. fee attached to it, and these will need to be paid in full by the 31st of October. That's because that payment secures your placement in that course, and they require their numbers to really dictate whether that course will run. That date is fairly non-negotiable. However, if there is some sort of financial reason that you may need a payment plan or something along those lines, please come and speak to myself or Miss Avelino, and we'll certainly be able to engage in that. There shouldn't be a reason not to undertake it. If you are interested in a vet, please note that some vet also do not run just exclusively within the timetable. Some of them run on Friday afternoons, and as a result they can only be accessed as part of the VCAL program. What we're working towards when we think about VCE, and something we need to give some consideration to, is another acronym. And I do appreciate that I've said a lot of acronyms tonight. So lots of VCAL, lots of VET, lots of VCAL. I'm saying a lot of things. All of the information I'm providing you tonight will be available on our website, including this presentation. So if you want to go back over anything I've said, please, I'll send you an email, access it, and then if you have any follow-up questions, please contact me. But another acronym is ATAR, and this is basically the score that you're provided with at the end of Year 12 that goes to the universities to basically give you your opportunity to enter. When I mentioned earlier that our ducks last year had a 91, that's what I was referring to. It's the number that will go to the universities and they will offer you university placements based on that. This is overseen by an external organisation called VTAC, and it's based on the scores that the students receive in their assessments within class, so the SACs, that's what we call them, and on their external assessment, their exam at the end of Year 12. This study score for each subject is out of 50, and then it's calculated together and it's ranked against everybody else in the state. Possible ATAR that you can receive is a 99.95, and obviously they're ranked down from there. Scaling is something I often get asked about today when we're talking about study scores. So that score out of 50 that every subject gets, should I be thinking about subjects that are scaled? Should I be thinking about subjects that perhaps move because of the number of other students that are doing it? My advice when picking subjects is do not even take scaling into consideration. The better you are at a subject, the less likely you are to be affected by scaling. The top and the bottom of every class aren't scaled. So really pick the subjects tonight, and the subjects that you're going to be doing for 2 years based on interest, motivation and career pathways. I think it's important at this point, because we are picking a 2-year course, to start thinking about where that 2-year course will eventually get you. So this is a sample ATAR score, and as you see, these are the results that they've received. This student here has undertaken 5 subjects, and they've received, C's and B's, and their VCE study scores range from about, 29, 24, and there's really about 30. Now, 30 is the average for the state, so it's where most people get their mark. As a consequence of that, they're scaled somewhat, because subjects go up, go down, or go up a little bit each year based on the number of students who do it and how successful those other students are. Remember that you're scaled against the state. So it's not just our little school here that's incredible, it's the whole state that you're going up against. And this would give you about a 55. The reason we think that this is worth mentioning is it's really a point at which we probably need to give some consideration to the study skills we're employing, how we're approaching our classes and what we're doing. This student here, which is very close to a student we had 2 years ago, did incredibly well in their course. They did English, further maths, psych, business management, and please note a lot of these subjects are scaled down, but they did incredibly well in these subjects. When you're calculating an ATAR, you take the 4 highest scores and then 10% of the next 2. This student was obviously a VCE access student, as they have 6 subjects. So this student has made the decision to undertake 6, so they've got 10% of 2 additional scores. So please note when you're looking at media and geography, they've gone from 30, 32 to 3 and 3.2. That's what I mean by the 10%. They're added together and they've got that aggregate score, so that total, and they've done incredibly well when compared to the rest of the state. Remembering that the best score you can get is 99.95. They got a 95, which would open so many doors to them, and certainly would allow them to basically access any university or course that they wish, with the exception of a couple. Some of the people in the room, and I can see a couple, and I'm try not to make eye contact with anyone in particular, have already started a VC Access program. So last year when they were picking their courses for 2016, they decided they wanted to undertake an additional challenge and start VCE a year early. It's been incredibly successful for some of the students in the room, and as a result they've already got a unit under their belt. Hopefully by the end of this year they'll have 2. This means that next year they'll be undertaking a Year 12 subject in a Year 11 course. So next year, because you are only picking 6 subjects, 5 of them will be at the Year 11 level, and then 1 of them will be at the Year 12 level. This is your opportunity to really get ready for what Year 12 will be like. So you get a little bit of a flavour, a little bit of a taste of what's going to be coming the year ahead. And then just as we mentioned last year, there are some options post that point. So at the end of next year, we're talking to you about your final year with us, which is a little bit daunting, but very exciting all the same. We'll be talking about what are you going to do with the opportunity that you've taken. The 3 choices will still be there, and obviously it's that you can undertake that subject again if you weren't quite as successful as you wanted. Really, you can undertake a new subject to get that 6th, that 10% of that 6th score, which is something I strongly recommend. But it does mean we probably need to start thinking about those subjects now. And lastly, is that we can probably start talking to you about university courses and whether you want to really try a little bit of university while you're with us. The beauty of doing that is obviously we're a safe space, but you can still taste uni without having to leave us completely. This is something we can start talking to you about, some choices you probably need to start thinking about if you're a VC Access student. I'm going to pass over to Miss Nisha McRae, the Career Pathways, and she's going to talk you through all of the information we've provided you.
Hi guys. So for those of you, as Ms Buller said, my name is Nisha McRae. I'm the Student Pathways Manager here at the college. And my part in all of this process is to take you through the next step. So Ms Buller has done all of the hard work in preparing all the documents for you. What I come along and do now is I show you how to use them. The first one that you have is a coloured booklet, which has got the 2017. This is actually inside your packs. This here and this booklet here is a snippet and a bit of a summary of all of the subjects that we have on offer for you. The other booklet, which is in the bottom left-hand side of the screen, is our handbook. This handbook is 242 pages, which is why you don't have a copy of it, but you can find it and have access to it on our website. So this booklet here is the first booklet that you guys should be using. This booklet here, as I said before, gives you a bit of a snippet, a bit of a snapshot of all of the subjects that we are offering at VCE and VCAL, and including the VET that we offer here as well. This booklet here we encourage you to use and keep for the next couple of years, because obviously you guys are picking a 2-year program, as Ms Buller said, and we just want you to refer back to it. This booklet here is a much more detailed booklet of the things that you are going to study when you choose your VCE program. It talks about your major assessment items that you are going to be looking at. It looks at the areas of study that you have, and all of this is found on our college website. So if you guys log on to Simon or Parents Pam, down the left-hand side under school links, you'll see the careers, which I know all of you read the careers newsletter, which is found in that section there. We've also added a section there which is based on the course selection handbook. So, what I'm going to show you guys today is actually how to use the handbook. So when you open up the link from the careers page in our home page there, you'll come up with the senior school handbook. So if we scroll down to the next page here, you'll see that there's a Year 10 component, which was you guys this time last year, but now you're going to be looking at the Year 11 12 component, and you click on the link. Has a little bit of an introduction, so to re-go over all of the V words that Miss Buller introduced you today, so you don't have to remember them all. A little bit about VCAL, and then we get into our Year 11 and our Year 12 subjects. You guys at Year 10 right now have picked 6 subjects in the first semester. You've just trialled your second 6 in the second semester. You're going to have a bit of a feel about what subjects you liked, what you enjoyed, what you performed well at, what you are interested in, and this is going to be the basis about you picking your VCE program with us. So if I randomly choose health, for example, because one of the title, it's got Unit 1, Health and Human Development right up the top. It gives you the faculty that it's come out of, and it gives you a unit description. It's a much more detailed description than the one in the booklet that you guys have in your pack. It also talks about the areas of study, so the things and the topics that you'll be looking at. It also goes through the outcomes, which is related to VCAL, so that body that oversees to make sure that everyone's studying the same thing. And then also goes through your assessment items as well. If we continue to scroll down, it then has the Unit 2 component of it. So again, a very detailed description about what it is that you'll be studying, Unit 2 Health. It has a look at your topics, your outcomes, and how you'll be assessed. Scroll down a little bit further, click on the link, and it takes you right back up to the top. I heavily suggest that you guys also have a look at the Unit 3 and 4 component that comes along with it as well. Because you guys are choosing a 2-year program, it is very handy to see what the Year 12 component, so the Unit 3 and 4, what that looks like. So have a bit of a read. So you can click on the Unit 3 and 4, and again, it's the same structure, it's the same format. Have a read of the unit description, have a look how you'll be assessed and what you'll be assessed on. All of the subjects are there with all of the KLAs, so all of the topics and the subjects that we'll be offering next year are all there for you guys to have a look and investigate with. Down the bottom right hand side as well, you'll also see our VET qualifications that we are being offered as well. So please take your time to have a look at those as well. In your packs with you, you guys have a more detailed version of this. This is a snippet of the careers that we get most of the questions about. What subject do I need to do if I'm wanting to get into medicine? What subject do I need to do to become an occupational therapist? So the subjects in bold are what we call prerequisites. Prerequisites is something that you have to do to be able to apply to a specific university or a specific TAFE course. So what we are doing, if I click on randomly, occupational therapy, you have to do English. Well, you're in VCE, everybody does English. But the part after that is the OR part. So you have the choice of biology, or health, or PE, or physics, or chemistry, or any level of maths to be able to qualify, to be able to apply for occupational therapy. You are allowed to do more than one of those prerequisites, and I heavily suggest that you do, but it is optional. So for example, if you sat in my Year 10 chemistry class and it was a little bit torturous and we didn't really like it, well, clearly we're not going to have to pick it for next year into Year 11. But you sat in biology and you really enjoyed that. You performed really well in maths and you performed well in physics. Then they would be the subjects that you carry on in Year 11 and Year 12. We've also picked out another question that comes, what do I need to do to become an accountant or a solicitor? If you have a look at the prerequisites, in pathways I always work backwards. So what do you need in Year 12, what do you have to do, and then work backwards from there. So if we have a look at becoming an accountant, it is any level of maths plus English. Miss Buller spoke to you guys before about the potential of subject bonuses and things like that. If you do business management, IT and accounting, those subjects will give you a bit of a bonus. Again, it is not a requirement that you have to do it. Miss Buller spoke about if you perform well in a subject and it happens not to be IT, but you do really well in health or biology, then that is the subject that you are going to do to give you the biggest score when it comes to your Year 12 year. Another one that I get asked a lot of questions about is teaching. What do I have to do to become a teacher? At Year 12, it is just English. At Year 11, you have to do general maths and English. You can choose to continue with maths in Year 12, but it is not a requirement. That may be the subject that you drop moving into Year 12. Inside your packs, there is a back and front sheet, which is much more detailed. Please take your time to have a look at that. The form. This is what I deal with, and that would be the coloured form inside your pack. The very first thing that you guys are going to have a look at is you're going to have a look at if you're going to choose VCE or VCAL. If you are choosing VCAL as a pathway, please remember that there is an additional form that you need to fill out, and you are going to have to choose a VCE program just in case you are not successful in getting into VCAL. It's a backup. So you will be choosing both, but I'll obviously process the form until you sit your interviews, until I've spoken to Mr. Bain and the team of people that will decide who will make up our class for 2017. So the very first thing that you guys will tick will be VCE or VCAL. From there, if you are choosing VCAL, you have to choose VET, and that's that fancy word of saying TAFE. You have to choose a TAFE course. There is a form, the VET application form that you need to fill out as well. All of this gets submitted together. If you are choosing VET as a part of VCE, which you can do, it makes a subject, you still fill out the VET application form and you choose what VET that you would like to do with us. When you go over to the next page, there is English. Everyone in VCE has to choose English. There is Enhanced English. This here is if you are the type of student that got 80s or above for your assessment items for last semester, and you performed really well in your exam. If you would like to choose that, you certainly can, but the English faculty will determine if you're going to be successful in that program. If not, we will go into English. For those of you who have EAL, Ms. Bury will contact you all to make sure that you qualify for EAL in Year 12, and she will have a discussion with you for what you place on your form. The rest of the form is a little bit different from last year. So if you remember last year, you had to look at all of the humanities, you had to look at the maths and the science, and then you had to rank each of the boxes. It is not for this year. This year, we are just looking for an additional 6, so English, plus your additional 6 subjects. How I would do this is I would be looking at what subjects I performed really well at Year 10, what subjects I enjoyed, and what do I need to do as a prerequisite-wise to get into the course that I need to get into. For an example, I've just pulled up humanities, and you can see that on the screen now. We have a variety of different humanities subjects being offered. You may choose one or more from this category, or you can choose none. It is completely up to you. You guys tailor what it is that you want to study at Year 11 and Year 12. If you are choosing VCE and VET, it counts as a subject. So please, we've just added a little box down the right-hand side there, so you can just remember that, yes, I do want to do VET. This is the name of the VET course that I want to do. And you also need to rank it and tell me how important it is for you to do it. So do you put that really low or do you rank that really high? That is your choice. This page here is the page that the careers team will process, and this is what we are looking at. So English will be your number 1. If you are choosing Enhanced, just write Enhanced beside it. If you are choosing EAL, then EAL will be written beside it. And then from 2 to 6 are the subjects that you most want to study. So if you are choosing, and I'm randomly going to pick on nursing, I'm going to choose general maths, I'm going to have a look at psychology, health, PE. I also really like vet dance. I'm going to do vet dance in there as well. You can see that there is a 7th preference put in there, and this is your reserve subject. As Ms. Buller said, you guys dictate what subjects are being run, so whether we fall short in our numbers or whether you have a timetable clash, we will do our very best to give you everything that you need, but your 7th subject or your reserve subject is what we will use as a backup. The last section is to make sure that home signs it, so home knows exactly what the students are going to be studying for Year 11 and Year 12. You guys are students, you guys need to sign it as well. And then when I am processing your course selection forms, to make sure everything's okay, I will sign it off as I go along. What happens now? So there is a whole team of people around here that are willing to help you and want to talk to you about their specific subjects, so please go around and talk to them. Students, talk to your families, talk to them about what it is that you want to do. Stop and have a think about what you did well in Year 10. Is there something that you need to improve on? Is it a prerequisite to get into where you need to be? Another thing that you guys need to be aware of, in your mixed classes in the next couple of sessions, I am going to bombard you with a whole heap of other information. So the next session that you guys are going to get is there was an insert that came out of the Herald Sun that talked about prerequisites. You guys are going to get your own individual copies of that, so you know exactly what it is that you need to do to apply to Australian Catholic University or Deakin University or Monash University when it comes to nursing. So you guys are going to get a copy of that as well. Please take the time, parents, if you are confused, if you're unsure about any of this, Ms. Buller and I are more than happy to make a time to see you all please don't leave it to the last minute, because obviously there is a lot of students that we need to deal with, so we are more than happy to sit down and have a chat with you. You guys have a month for this form. It is not a rushed decision. We want you guys to take your time. Find out what it is that you need to do and want to do. Again, come and see Ms. Buller or myself in your course selection forms, and it's on the back of your last page between the 15th and the 19th of August. Ms. Buller and I, and Ms. Smith, who is a part of the junior pathways, and she is more than happy to help us, are here to help with course counselling. As I said, your due date for your forms is not until the 15th and the 19th of August at the senior school or at the careers room. We will then go away, we will process all of your forms, we will create a bit of a timetable, and then I will sit down with each of the students individually and confirm their subject selections for the following year. Ms. Buller and myself and Ms. Smith are more than happy to help you, but there's also your Year 10 coordinators, there is also the Year 11 coordinators, and also your MIPS teachers are here to help you as well. What happens now, and you get to talk to all the staff that are here around you to help. Inside your packs as well, there is a bit of an evaluation form. If you would like to fill that out today, that would be greatly appreciated, or you can go home and fill it out and bring it back to us tomorrow. That would be great. Before I let the chaos begin, does anyone have any questions?